Hello everybody, welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is Dimp Digital's weekly videos games podcast. You've got myself Apps here running the operations for this week, and I'm joined by the one, the only, Logan. How you doing,
back
mate?
Again. Yeah, good, mate. Thanks, good.
Back again, yeah. I can't remember when you was last on. We actually tried to record this first bit anyway, what we're about to speak about, talk about TitanFall's technical test last week, and then recorded a good 20 odd minutes, seemed all right. Had to bin it because all the things we moaned about, they pretty much changed.
I thought it got binned.
Yeah, it had to be.
You didn't say anything.
No.
I don't know why. The thing is, I haven't listened to the podcast, but when I was doing the Facebook and Twitter bits, I noticed it was just Dave Salmon, and I thought,
hang on,
what's going on here? And then I thought, did that go on last week, or was it for this week? I couldn't remember. I just thought,
It's basically the one thing we definitely moaned about was the Titanfall drops being slow. And they changed it for this weekend. But we might as well jump straight into it. We've had 2 weekends of Titanfall technical test pre-alpha build.
Mm-hmm.
And we've sung the praises of the original Titanfall, despite its shortcomings in the campaign department. I think everyone on the crew enjoyed Titanfall, probably more than what the average game did. A lot of people tended to feel like they could get dropped off quite soon, but we were playing that a year after release and further and beyond. You've been playing it up until a few months ago.
Yeah.
So Titanfall 2, really, it was always going to be a banker until we started playing it, perhaps. But, Titanfall 2 was going to be a banker. Is it still a banker based on what you've played in the last 2 weeks?
I don't think it's a banker on release.
No.
I think it will get bought at some point.
Yeah, it's one of those jobbies.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all, without deviating, I think it all hinges on Battlefield. If that goes down the pan for me, then this might get promoted into top spot. But at the moment, it's taking second seat, and the beta, or this pre-alpha test they call it, it's a beta.
Yeah.
It did reaffirm that for me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just so that you guys at home, we are talking about Battlefield later on, but we're recording that separately. So we're actually recording this before the open beta has started. So by the time you listen to this, you'll be playing Battlefield 1, but we're recording before that. Wanted to try and get as clean views on Titanfall without the poison or the influence of Battlefield 1 getting in and going, oh, it's not Battlefield 1.
Yeah,
so it's completely trying to keep it as clear as possible. So let's talk about what we got in the technical test. We've got 3 game modes, 2 maps. We've got 3 maps over the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we also got this networks mode, which it's almost like your own personal lobby, isn't it? It's a way that you join a lobby, you create a network, so you create a Dimp Digital network, everyone joins it. If we're online, it automatically chucks us in that network, and if one of us wants to start a game, we can do it, and you can choose to invite the others in the network. It's just a quicker way of matchmaking, really. I don't think it's going to drastically change anything too much, but needs to say, from someone who was managing the rooms and pulling people into games, it was a lot easier than sending out invites and whatnot and just having people in as soon as you log on, you're in it. It's handy to have that. The game itself, though, before we go into the modes of what we played, felt slow. I don't know if that's a mental thing, but it did feel slow. And if we're talking about the grappling hook as well in this sluggish nature, that was not as snappy as what the trailers were making out, was it?
No, so this was something that I was deliberately trying to not break it, but I was really putting it to the test.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem of it is that those maps don't lend themselves well to a lot of manoeuvring, I don't think. I mean, the one thing that Titanfall 1 had was maps with lots of roofs that you could jump to, and you could sort of get high quite easily. And there was one map where there was a lot of narrow alleyways for you to really jump between walls and stuff and really try and get some speed up. And that worked really well, obviously, because the game is built around maneuverability. I think that is one of its key.
That's what set it about, didn't it? When it first arrived, that nothing else was really doing it on that level.
No, and it was so snappy, smooth, and it was very intuitive. You didn't have to focus a lot to be able to do it really well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you could, so when you're on foot, you were really light, snappy, and you could jump about really easily. And when you're in a Titan, you're a bit more limited and you felt a bit more sluggish. And that was the disadvantage, if you like. And that's what I mean. The balancing with it was brilliant. It was almost perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was a bit nervous about this whole mechanic coming into it with the grappling hook, because I thought, well, is it going to be too much? But actually, I found myself not really using it. I actually didn't think it was overly useful to get about with. It relied a lot on you having the momentum already and almost using it as a swing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It would not boost you, would it? If anything, it would slow you down. So if you didn't have the momentum, you didn't jump with it, you were basically a snail going through the air.
And I got snarled up a lot.
Yeah,
I really did. I'd try and get on the top of a building, and because I didn't have the momentum, I'd just sort of be hanging off it like a fucking fish on a fishing rod. Honestly, I was just like that. I was like, Jesus, literally waiting for someone to shoot me. But yeah, it does feel sluggish, really. I mean, it's not slow, but it just feels. I think you're right. Something about it that just doesn't feel as snappy on it, and I think, yes, it feels like that's gone down a notch for me. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
No, yeah, I mean, it did feel just a little bit slower. Everything, like, and leaving the grappling hook out when you're running around as a pilot, it did not feel as snappy, really. Yeah, and as quick, as fast twitch. It's still fast, like you said, but it was it didn't feel like you don't feel like you built any momentum. I don't know if that was a mental thing, but I just really didn't think that it was as quick as the other one. Maybe they've slowed it down a little bit. I don't know, but there was certainly a slight lack on that front. It's a really hard thing to articulate. It just didn't feel as good. Yeah, because it's clear they've clearly made changes there, but I don't know what they are. But they've made it, lack for a better word, worse. It's not bad, but it's just not as good as what the first one was, which is a worry.
They've introduced this sliding mechanic as well.
Well, that just before you go into that sliding mechanic makes you go faster somehow.
Yeah.
So how's that working? How can you slide on your knees and go faster?
Yeah.
I'm not having it. Sort it, Respawn.
Again, this is what I talk about bolting shit on, but the movement aspect of it, perfect. They're now down to a T on Titanfall 1. I don't understand I can understand you'll get these great cinematics off of it. Like, they introduce these deliberately low sort of like little boxes they reminded me of like cat flaps, really.
They were purposely there,
for you to slide through. They've introduced those bits specifically for you to slide through, and I imagine that you can slide and shoot and get. I mean, I got killed by a guy. I was hiding in a hard point, and I was hiding behind some boxes, and a guy come through, slid in, and shot me behind it, and I didn't have a chance to sniff at him, really. And I thought, okay, so in times like that, it works. Like, I go, all right, but at the same time, you can have no momentum and all of a sudden just slide at 100 mile an hour, and I was a bit sort of like, I'm not sure about that as a mechanic. And for the once in a blue moon that you might use it, to actually deliberately make a map, parts of the map for that, I thought was a bit excessive and a bit strange. I mean, that's really nitpicking.
Yeah.
But again, it makes me wonder why they've slowed, or the rest of it feels sluggish, and then this one mechanic feels really quick.
Yeah, I don't know what that is all about. I mean, the slide mechanic I quite enjoyed, but I suppose if you're going to introduce, they may as well add bits onto the map. The maps themselves, a bit of a talking point there, because I don't think a lot of people, not just yourself when we was playing it in Pee-wee, but they felt a little bit uninspired. I don't know. They didn't feel like Titanfall 1. There was not many of them when it first shipped, but they felt all unique and they're all balanced well. There's enough room. There's clear bits where the Titans would have the advantage, and there's clear bits where the Pirates have the advantage, where it was a bit more intricate. But these ones, apart from the one that they added this weekend, and the name escapes me,
Homestead,
yeah, I quite liked that one for Hardpoint. I thought that there's some good spots, and it's sort of two outer rim ones, and then one that was only pilot focused. It was like a corridor, basically like a bridge over two bits of bobs. But the other two that we did play last week and the one this week, I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed. I'm not I'm really not the multiplayer specialist, but I don't think I'm alone in that. What did you think of what they were serving up on this front? Because typically that's their strong point.
Yeah, but they didn't blow me away. I mean, the maps, I've always said it with multiplayer games, I think probably one of the most important things is getting the map right and encouraging a variety of gameplay.
Yeah.
and I think that these maps that they gave us to play with didn't. I mean, one of the good things about the original Hardpoint was that you could get Titans into them, basically.
Yeah.
And you could hold a point with a Titan.
Yeah.
And I notice on this one, they have tried to discourage you from doing that.
Yeah, you can only put it outside, can't you?
Yeah,
so
and I was a bit miffed about that.
Mm.
I also noticed they've took away sentry turrets. So one thing, no. So one of the things they had on the old one was turrets you could hack, and also you could hack the AI bots. Which, I mean, nobody really did it, but it was quite a nice little mechanic that I quite liked for some reason. I don't know why. It just added a bit of variety in, and I noticed. Well, they may not have taken it away, but on the maps there, they didn't give us that. That seems like it's completely gone. So yeah, I just found the maps a bit sort of one-dimensional, really.
Yeah, they all felt very similar. They didn't like in terms of their aesthetic and
bland. I thought like they just similar colours. Like they weren't very bright. It all felt a bit dingy.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I feel like I'm really shitting on this game. Like, and I've just played a technical test, but
I
think what we've talked, the key bits that we're talking about, just feel a little bit below. I think Titanfall was such a high level.
Yeah, it's difficult to maintain.
It's
difficult to maintain the movement and control. That should have just been kept the same. And as I said, they originally on the first weekend getting a Titanfall was really difficult. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't. It just wasn't a banker like it always was. Like you'd always get even no matter how shit you were, you'd get a Titan.
Yeah.
In the first weekend, that was not the case. You had to make kills. You had to play the objective. You had to get it. Otherwise, you would not. The time would run out. You definitely wouldn't get one. And I noticed if you didn't do anything for a little while, the time would decay. So you could actually end up going backwards in time. They did change that, so people obviously were not pleased with that. The game is called Titanfall, so even if you're poor, you should expect to at least have one go at one. But yeah, I don't really know what they've. I've enjoyed the second weekend much more than the first weekend. I played it more. We played with three of us. We played a couple of hours together, and I was like, this is still fun. Like I'm not saying it's a bad game. It just wasn't. I don't know. I just thought for some reason Titanfall 2 would just be better or as good as Titanfall the original.
Do you know what it felt like to me? And I don't know why, but it felt like when, for example, Infinity Ward did Modern Warfare 2 or something like that, for example.
Yeah.
And you go, this is great. This is a great game. You can tell this is really good. And then you go, right, I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. And
then Black Ops comes along. And it's done by Treyarch.
Yeah.
And you play it, and you go, this is Call of Duty, but it just doesn't feel the same.
No.
Like, it's still fun. I'm still enjoying it, but it just doesn't feel the same as the one Infinity War. And I know this is done by the same people.
Yeah, Respawn is still there.
But it just, something for me just feels a bit different with it. Like, I didn't... It looks the same but different as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's got that familiarity to it, but it doesn't. Yeah, I do agree with that. But it is the same guys. But I don't know. Whether, I imagine the team has expanded since then.
Yeah.
So there's more. People and resource on it. Maybe that's had an influence in it. And it's a tricky one, isn't it? Do you just stick with the status quo in terms of how it played and what it did before, and just go, well, people will be happy with that, or do you try and play it a bit risky, try and change things a little bit? And I feel like they've tweaked just a little bit too much. But having said that, it was very fun still. I enjoyed my time with it, for sure. They've slightly changed the Titans a little bit. You kind of more... I felt like you're a bit more restricted with your Titans, but you can go in the menus and customise them. But they kind of had names, didn't they? Like Scourge and Ion. How did you find being in a Titan? I was never great at it, but I felt like Titanfall the original... there was a clear... I knew exactly what I was doing, what sort of tactics to use. With this one, I don't know if they have added new stuff into it, but I felt like there's more options, but I didn't really understand or get the best way to utilise it. And really, I barely used a Titan after about an hour. I thought, I'm not making good use of this. I left him to run around. I was much more effective as a pilot. Where do you stand on the Titans and perhaps how they've tweaked it slightly and added a few bit more bits to it?
Yeah, so I actually went on when you guys weren't there to try and get a bit more depth with these Titans, because I think one of my problems with it last weekend was that I didn't really understand it too much. I all felt a bit overwhelmed by the changes.
Yeah.
So I feel like I got to grips with the game modes, the guns, the maps. So I was like, okay. I had a bit of a blind spot with Titans, and I thought, right, I'm going to put some time into the Titans, see what customization is there and stuff like that. And basically, yeah, we got Scorch and Ion Gun Titans, so that's two different types, yeah.
Yep.
And they're actually rated by difficulty as well.
Yep.
So the Ion one is an easier Titan to use than the Scorch Titan.
Right.
The Ion one I was fine with. That's got a pretty simple chain gun on it, basically. Yeah. But you are given those guns, you are given that loadout, and that is it.
Right. Can you change that in the menu and change your guns?
No.
Right.
That is it. But what you can change is a couple of the powers. So you can choose whether you want a more powerful shield, basically, and a few other bits. But essentially, your loadout for that Titan is the same. I don't see any way of changing that, but you do unlock a few little bits.
Sure.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. I'm struggling whether this is a good idea or not. I mean, in the original Titanfall, I liked to be able to choose my gun and mix it up a little bit, because you got a lot of different challenges to do with different guns and things like that to level up. So I quite enjoyed doing that. On this one, I didn't get on with that Scorch Titan. It was very close range, but I noticed it had more armor on it.
Yeah.
So I encouraged you to get up in people's grills, but you had no way. It didn't even have a boost on it. So you were just sort of lumbering around with it, and I found it quite difficult to use. Whereas the Ion one, I felt I had a bit more range on it, a bit more maneuverability, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. But I don't know. I don't like really just being given it and just go and choose one of them.
Yeah.
I like to be able to change it up and make it match how I would play Titan, rather than me picking a Titan that closely matches my playing type.
Yeah.
That felt a bit
restrictive, isn't it?
A bit restrictive, and I think what I was looking for from the Titans, rather than getting a bit of, I mean, I didn't get any personality from them. They're exactly the same. They're just fixed loadouts.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a bit of a change up. Like, I was hoping that we saw melee stuff. I was hoping.
Where's this fucking sword they teased all them months ago?
That's what I was hoping for, to really get up in people's grills and have a proper Titan battle. Rather than sort of, the Titan battles just felt a bit rubbish. They did though. They did feel like I chose that Titan and that loadout on it, and that was beating other people's loadouts. I just felt like I was put up against two different Titans, and then it was how I was playing with them that made the difference.
Sure.
So yeah, I hope that they do give you additional customization later on. I hope that does come.
Yeah, maybe it's stuff you just got to unlock in the main game. Like typically with a multiplayer shoot, you don't start off all the good stuff, do you? Over time, you unlock it, and there are this currency you're building up very slowly, isn't there? These gears, I don't know what the hell they are, but they do facilitate unlocks. So maybe that's going to be part of the game, and you'll unlock stuff based on what you choose, rather than just hitting a level and it drops and you get the new gun. You choose what you're going to unlock. Although that's then maybe goes where those microtransactions coming in, because where there's in-game currency, there's always an opportunity to make some extra money. Whilst we're talking just lastly about the Titans, they completely changed how the rodeo mechanic works. Literally torn the book up and gone, nope, no more jumping on, no more shooting the core, no more jumping off when you choose. You jump on, the game pulls the battery. Your character pulls the battery out the first time round, jumps off on his own. You jump on again, you chuck a grenade in, you jump off again. You jump on again, you chuck another grenade in, and then normally that's enough and they're done with. Odd change. I found, and I'm not a good player, it really easy to devastate people. I was being a right horrible baths to people in those Titans, and that's why I binned off being a Titan, because I couldn't deal with people jumping on my back. I like the whole battery thing, because you can pull the battery out and then go and put it in your Titan if it's got half health, or go to one of your team members and give it to them. I quite like that part of it, but the whole just chucking a grenade and jumping off, it's all very easy.
Yeah. I think one of the hard things on Titanfall 1 was actually, or I'd say one of the hard things or one of the easy things is if you got on a Titan that was basically healthy,
Yeah.
and you tried to get that down with a gun, you're going to be struggling really.
Yeah.
But if it was sort of a third left, you could look at that, and if it was on fire, you think, right, I can take this, get on it, and put it down. I like the battery mechanic.
Yeah, I like that.
I do like that. I think that's because I think one of the biggest bugbears for me was, how do I heal this Titan? Like there was no healing mechanic at all. Like you couldn't even get a perk to heal.
No. You're fucked once you got a beating. You couldn't come back from it, could you?
So I think that's good that you can go, boys, we need that Titan who's got a battery. Can you put it on me, sort of thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think this is where the grappling hook comes in handy, because you can grapple Titans, get on, pull the battery, jump off, grapple back, go on it. Again, I think that leads to some good sort of cinematic shots or whatever. But I think as a mechanic for the actual Titans, I think it is quite hard to combat.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always struggled with is getting people off my back. I mean, my Titan, the Iron one, I think has a default smoke on it that you can kill people with. Yeah. But yeah, it feels like maybe that needs to be looked at as maybe you need to do it more often, or I don't know. But yeah, I know what you mean. I didn't do that a lot. I mean, I don't like to. One thing I do have to say, by the way, is the anti-Titan weapons are so crap.
Yeah,
like they're almost redundant.
That's why I just jumped on their back, because I was jumping on. No one was using the smoke. I would pull the battery out. That's 1/3 gone. Do it 2 more times. The grappling hook means I'll jump off and just grapple straight back on. Because I was trying to use my anti-Titan weapon. That's a good point, and it's rubbish.
Yeah, and all of them were.
Tried them all, did you?
Yep, I tried them all, and they were all useless, honestly. And I thought, why have they made it impossible for me as a pilot to not take one down without jumping on his back?
Yeah.
You don't put it in then. Don't put it in there. Yeah. Make me jump on them if I've got to do it that way. But why give me 3 choices and none of them work?
Yeah.
That to me was absolutely balmy.
Yeah.
And that really pissed me off, actually, because I was just thinking, right, well, I've got this fucking massive ion gun here.
Yeah.
It is literally tickling them.
Yeah, they don't even. All it does is just alert you to where you are, and they end up killing you.
Yeah.
And I've done no damage there. Now they're going to fucking just destroy me.
So for me, I mean, we could go on about this for fucking hours, really. I think it's not. I don't know if you want to just sort of sum it up here, but
yeah. Well, I want to go through the modes quickly.
All right, let's do that,
and then we'll sum it up. Towards the back end. So pilot v pilot doesn't need any explanation. It's pilots only, standard kind of that. Felt fine. You're all on a level playing field. Amped hardpoint. So that's essentially headquarters, if you remember Call of Duty, but with free. That's a lie. Actually, it's not. It's capture the points in it and hold them. That's all it is. They're static. They don't move. Mm-hmm. And previously, you would just hold them. If you're holding 2 of them, your ticker goes up more. If you've got 1 of them, it goes up less. Now you've introduced this part where you amp the hard point. So if you sit there long enough, it will kind of recapture it again on a second ring, and then you'll get double points or extra points for having it amped. Now, sounds good in principle, but I found, and you saw my stats, 0 kills, top of the leaderboard, because I'll just sit in A or whatever it was, amp the hard point, and because the amp doesn't stay there when you leave, as soon as you leave the area, it starts ticking down. I just sat there, and it encouraged me. It just encouraged this odd behaviour where I was just sat on the point and didn't move, because I didn't want to lose the amp, because I knew that if we amped one, chances are that we're still going to get ticking points over, and if we lose 2 of them for a while, we won most of the games, and I was finishing top just doing that, and I thought, this is not. I don't know if that's the intention of it, but that's how it made me play it, and that might be a personal thing, but it's a bit. It's like, why is that even an option? What's this amped shit?
I must admit, I thought if you amped a hard point, you get amped weapons for a little while. But apparently not.
No,
it just seems to literally, it's just coincidental that they're both named the same.
Fucking idiots, aren't they? Call that something different.
Yeah, I don't feel like. As I say, it's hard to tell. I mean, you can normally tell. You go, right, we got 2 out of 3 points, we'll win.
Yeah.
but there were games where we'd have one for quite a majority and still win. I've gone right. I don't.
It's because of the amping. Because I was
Yeah,
sitting there
and it's
not doing anything.
but it was really strange. And again, you go, has that improved that game mode? And you go, well, no, not really. I don't really know why that was introduced.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Fine as it was, wasn't it? That was literally fine as it was. Hardpoint.
And this is what I mean when I talk about bolting shit on. You go, what value are we adding there? You go, amped hardpoint. You go, right, but what actually is that adding?
It's just encouraging negative behaviour from people like me who want to win.
I mean,
that's all it was doing.
I don't mind them encouraging objective-based behaviour, but it felt a bit OTT. Again, the balance on it just didn't.
The best point about hardpoint is that scramble, isn't it? Of going to you get one, you secure it, you go, right, what's going on? Oh, we've lost B, let's go over there. And
the whole point of hardpoint is that you need to own 2 out of 3.
Yeah, exactly. You're on the move, and you're constantly going backwards and forwards, things like that. Whereas I don't think that encouraged that sort of behaviour on this amped hardpoint. So I think it's a bit of a thumbs down for us. Bounty Hunt, on the other hand, I really like this. So essentially, this introduces the AI, the grunts, if you will, which were present, I think, in all game modes before. Maybe perhaps not all of them on original Titanfall, but I didn't see them in Hardpoint. I didn't see them in Pilot v Pilot on this technical test, but I did see them only in Bounty Hunt. So essentially, a waypoint will come up on the map, and in that waypoint, that's where a load of AI will spawn. You get points in this game by killing the AI. You get money for killing them, and at the end of each wave, they come in waves. You then can go back to a defined bank on the map and bank all your money that you've got. If you get killed during that, you lose half of what you've got. So it's, you want to keep going back and forth to the bank, but the bank's only open for a certain amount of time. I quite like this. It brings back memories of Warzone and Halo 5, which I thought was the best multiplayer mode on that. And I really enjoyed Bounty Hunt. I thought it was a good spin on thing. It's something a bit different. It's obviously it's got that competitive nature there, but you're not directly getting stung every 5 minutes by someone because they're hunting you, because they've got the way they score points is to kill the AI, not you really.
Yeah.
And it does introduce some real scummy tactics, like people sitting on the banks waiting for you to walk in and then blowing you away, and you're like, fucking hell, I've just lost $500 to that. But I was a big fan of this anyway. I thought this was a great mode.
Yeah, it took me a while to get my head around what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know why I struggled with that, but as I sent you a message, didn't I? Where I'd finally got to grips with it, but it was it was something different. I quite like the idea of neutral objectives that you basically it's something different. I mean, I'm always up for these multiplayer games, trying new things, because
well, you just said that about Amped Hardpoint.
No, but they haven't tried something new. They're bolting shit on to the existing thing. This is something new, really, isn't it? So yeah, I think it's always good to bring something with a new game, bring a fresh game mode. And yeah, this did feel quite fresh and new, and I could play that quite happily for a while. I think that was a plus point for me.
Yeah, because as the waves go on, they drop stronger enemies. So you start off with the grunts, then you get the spectres, then you get these mini Titanfall things, which I assume will appear in the campaign somewhere to explain what they are, and then you get big fucking Titans drop down, and you've got to take them out. And obviously, the harder the opponent, the more of a bounty, the more money you get for taking them down. So yeah, that was a good mode. I was impressed with that.
I would like to see them make them a bit more of a threat, though. I mean, one thing I did notice is that they're very passive.
Yeah.
And I'd like, it sort of encourages people to just go, they're not going to kill me, and just go for PvP.
Yeah.
So I'd quite like them to actually be a threat, and people actually go, well, do I take that player down, or do I take this sort of this grunt or this Titan down, because he's going to be a real pain in the arse. Like, I'd like that. I'd like them to introduce that bit more as a quandary, rather than the player always being more of a threat than the AI.
Yeah.
That's a very minor criticism, though, because that's probably not what really the game is about.
No.
But I think that would make it a bit more interesting as to whether people go for the objective or just, do you see what I mean?
They were a bit of a pushover. Even the Titans, I was, like I said, doing that thing, even human players, but to the AI even more, jumping on, taking the battery, chucking a grenade and rinse and repeat 3 times, and it was gone, and I was single-handedly taking it down. I was like, well, that shouldn't be happening, really. It'd be good if they were a little bit OP, so it had to take 2 or 3 of you to do it.
Yeah.
That's
what I expected.
On the Titans, at least, the grunts themselves, I mean, fuck them, just chuck a grenade when they drop pod.
Yeah.
And you get about 6 of them. That's not that's not a problem. But when the Titans drop, like on the latter stages of the game, then I'd like that to be a bit more of a challenge. But that's pretty much what was in the technical test. A fair old amount there. You were about to sum up your thoughts on Titanfall 2's technical test. What are your final thoughts on this particular pre-alpha build?
So I think you're always a bit more critical with things that you really care about, or that like I love this Titanfall franchise. I think it was something new and fresh a couple of years ago that they brought in.
Yep.
They got it almost perfect in Titanfall. I had very little complaint other than probably variety and campaign, but I think my fear of bolting shit on is coming to fruition. I really do. It's by no means technically a bad game.
No.
At all. It's good fun. But it just didn't, for me, in this, hit the same sort of heights as Titanfall did with me. And that's not because it feels like, I think you said to me, well, you've been playing it relatively recently. Is it just fatigue? Are you burnt out? And not at all. I mean, I think, as I said to you before, if someone said to me, do you want to go and play Titanfall in a minute? I'd go, yep, in a heartbeat. Yeah. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that sort of X factor, if you like. And I think, as I said to you before, maybe if Battlefield wasn't lurking, this is a guaranteed banker of a game for me to buy and enjoy.
Yeah.
But maybe because that's lurking, it kind of just... I've got high expectations of Battlefield, that this just gets put down a bit. But I think even taking Battlefield out of the equation, there's some stuff that they've added in, and what they've done to it just doesn't, for me personally, improve the game.
No.
I don't think.
No, it doesn't, does it? It's not the step forward I think we was all hoping for. It's always a tough one, the second entry to a multiplayer game, because it was so highly praised, the last one. The complaint was, it hasn't got a campaign. Well, it's got that now, and it's made some other tweaks, and yet people are displeased with it. So it's a tough one. And I think, in general, having looked over sifted through the comments and what people are thinking of, is that everyone does seem a little bit more down on it than beforehand, because before it was just the assumption was Titanfall 2 is going to be awesome. We're all going to jump on. It's going to be great times. And that's still there. We still had great times, but I think it's kind of dampened things a little bit, which is always the worry for these publishers and developers. When they put out a technical test, they put out a beta, there's always the chance that some people are swayed the wrong way. And I think that may have happened here, especially with others lurking, which we will be talking about later on. But we'll watch the space on Titanfall 2. I don't know if they'll do a full beta test or if that was our lot. But we're not...
I think by the sounds of it, they said we'll see you in October.
Right.
I think that's it.
That's it. Game over. So we'll have to wait and see when that game drops. I mean, it's going to be a busy month that October. And there's going to have to be some tough decisions made to get the most out of everything that's coming out. It's been. I want to change gear now. It's been quite a few weeks since No Man's Sky's released.
Yes.
And we've spoken about it, quite a bit, and had a week off last week. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this, because we've had Piper's thoughts, we've had Biff shouting about it, hating its life, hates everything, so take that with what you will. And before I wanted to talk about the game, actually, I wanted to talk about the annoyance that you've got with the poison being posted. So we've got a No Man's Sky group in there, it's like a roller coaster, that group. One day it's like, this is shit. What the fuck? What is this game? I want a Steam refund. Give me that. And then the next day it's like, I've been doing this today. And I think, well, hang on. I thought you hated it. And I'm guilty of it because I've been doing it.
Yeah.
I've been moaning about it. And then I spent this weekend, I hadn't turned it on in a week and a half. Put it on this weekend, done about 8 hours. And I was like, Christ. Although I was pissed out of my head last night when I did it. So.
Did you go on there last night?
Yeah, after the pub I did. So I knew, because that's the thing, you don't need to actually engage yourself to do what I was doing. But, and then this is, and the reason I mentioned our little group is because if you look outside into the internet and, the articles that are coming up, there is a lot of negativity surrounding this game now, whether it's the marketing, how it was, that he said stuff that's not in the game, whether it's the demos not looking like they did 2 years ago, the actual game doesn't look how they demoed it. What's your take on all this negativity and this almost, and I've said it in the group, there is a bandwagon there to be had, and that it's now it's tough for people to enjoy the game and publicly voice that about someone going, what the hell, shit.
Yeah.
Is it valid? Well, it is. That's the trouble.
It is valid. It is,
but not to the point where it's
I
a
think
special case.
No, and I think what people have to realise is they have to accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
Imagine if Dimp Digital come up with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a similar sort of scale. Let's be honest. It's not. If we got everyone together from Dimp and said, right, let's all do it. Like, it's not far off, mate. So you got to, in a way, I take my hats off to what they've done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I go, well, like for me, it's very hollow.
Yeah.
I think that's the word to describe it. But I'm trying to not lay into it because I don't think it deserves all this criticism. I think a lot of people have built themselves into this, and I don't think Hello Games have helped this either. No. I think if they'd have come out and said,
they'd put a muzzle on Murray, and they have. He's not tweeted for about 2 weeks, but
yeah, and Murray it's his game basically. Yeah. He's very excited about it. He's going to promo it. He's not going to shit on it, is he?
No.
Let's be honest. So we have to take that, and look, when people are self-promoing, you have to take it for what it is.
You got to look at the source, haven't you?
Yeah,
that's the one thing that Issue always taught me at school. Look at the source. Who's saying it?
You want unbiased opinion.
Don't go there.
Don't listen to the person that's made it.
But is there a point to say that he said there's certain features that aren't in the game? Is that worth criticising for?
Yes and no. I mean, look, they're not the only ones to do it.
Oh no,
I've said before, right? I've said before. Look at Destiny.
Yeah.
Right. That is fucking hollow as you get when it first come out, and it's only now 2 years later where there's actually a game there that it's probably worth getting, and nobody's going to be sniffing after it because it's 2 years old. So you go, right. So if Bungie are allowed to do it, why are we having a go at a guy in a shed? That's my opinion. And look, I've paid more for this probably than any other game just for a base game. I bought the collector's edition for 70 odd quid.
Yeah.
That's a lesson learned.
That is, isn't it? Because I've done the same. I bought the same. Pipe did the same. You know, it was. It's now there as a reminder of that case, that big case. I think, right.
Yeah.
Don't really be doing that again, because the benefit of doing it kind of, like, even Uncharted. I love Uncharted. I don't know why I did it.
I think I felt like, because there was only a few of them.
Yeah.
I think I felt like I didn't mind doing that. I mean, I had some money on my game card anyway, so it wasn't like come out of my pocket. But no. I kind of didn't mind doing that. But if we get into the game without spoilers, it doesn't look horrendous to me. I mean, I think it's quite atmospheric. I think it looks reasonably good. I mean, you've seen videos about people mocking some of the spawn animals and after a while, I think some of the planets and some of the stuff does look very samey.
Yeah.
Some people could come across some great animals, some great looking planets. Some people could come across rocks. I mean, that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
I think my problem with this game is that its biggest strength is it's also its biggest weakness. In that the variety is so big.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can have a completely different experience from one person to another creates a problem.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And I think if you don't have your own little targets, like when I go on there, I have to say to myself, I want to get a new ship. I want to find a new part for my multi-tool. I want to find... Like, if you don't go on there with these goals, you don't really... Or if you don't want to do anything on there, you don't want to play it. That's how I've found it, and I don't want to look around these planets. I just don't want to.
No, I don't either. Because you're right. Because the game doesn't feed you. We knew that coming in. We knew it wasn't going to give you a strong narrative to follow. There's very loose, narrative for you to go along and do if you wish to. But in terms of it driving you forward and you going, I wonder what's going to happen next. No, none of that. It's you're reading texts if you want to find out about it, and there is some interesting stuff there. I found all the alien races that are in the game. I didn't even know there's going to be aliens in this game, but the alien race, when you go and visit their relics and their ruins, for example, it gives a little bit of a background, and it's all a bit ambiguous, which is fine, but it's quite interesting learning about. One race in particular, I've been tracking down their ruins and reading more and more about those, and you kind of get a better picture for them. You think, oh fucking hell, didn't realise that was going on, or that was happened in the past. But if you're not interested in that, which you'll you're entitled not to be, then you ain't going to enjoy this game. And the part about the game, the thing that it misses, which is big for me, is I was expecting to come in and enjoy exploring these planets.
Yeah.
Enjoy going around, enjoy going to new solar systems, going, what I want to find. But that really is not. No. That's the poorest part of it. And I find that incredible for a game that's got 18 quintillion planets. I don't want to see them all because there's not enough variety in there. It's not just that. It's when you arrive on the planet, there's 6 different outposts or different things you can do, and that's it. And they're all going to be the same as what you visited on the last planet. There's not going to be a ruined city that you're going to find underwater. That doesn't exist. It's not going to be in the game. It's going to be a barren outpost, an abandoned outpost, a manufacturing facility, a crashed ship, a ruin, or something along those lines. That's all you're going to get, and they're all going to look the same. They're going to be laid out the same. Literally, someone's built that structure, dragged and dropped it, and stuck it in random places around the game. So there's no real drive for me to go away and do that. And that's a problem, because that for me was going to be the big part of No Man's Sky was doing that. I was thinking, you know what, I don't even want to go to the centre of the galaxy. I don't want to follow the Atlas Pass. I'll just go and do whatever I want. But you soon realise after about, and to be fair, it took about 10 hours or so before that I sort of went, right, what's going on here? And those first 10 hours, brilliant. But after that, I was like, right, now that I'm not enjoying doing this. My plan, I said 2-3 weeks ago, of going to visit every planet on every solar system that I've come across, hitting 6 waypoints, scanning at least one animal, I can't be bothered to do it anymore. It's a time sink. I just want to get to the centre of the universe and put it down and go, right, hopefully they change that in a few months and I'll come back to it. It's a problem.
Yeah, and I think what you revealed to me today again is a problem. Again, I think it's just a sense of scale is too large.
It's the scope of the game is huge, but it literally has the depth of like a puddle.
Yeah.
There's so little underneath that surface. Like, look at all this, and you look, and you go, oh, it's still only 1 inch deep, and that's the trouble. Yeah. It's really spread thin across it. There's nothing meaningful really to do in the game. And I'll tell you what did annoy me. One thing, and there's other things, and I feel like the game is a little bit of a trick in a way. When you find a crashed ship, you will only ever find a ship that's either one slot bit better than yours, the same slot, or one less. It'll be one of those 3. You can't just stumble across a 48 slot ship. And for me, that fundamentally almost breaks the idea of the game. Like, I could stumble across this amazingly big ship and be like, "Wow, that is a massive find." No, the game will tailor it and manufacture that I only ever find one up. And I know why they've done it, because I don't want people finding the maximum amount of ship, like on the first planet, for example. But having the chance to do it, at least give that. There's no chance of that happening.
No, I disagree, because I think they've got to give you that chance. I think that...
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And with no chance there, I think, what am I doing? I'm literally grinding. Yeah. And they're not even covering up that it's a grind. They're like, well, no, that's the only way to get a better ship is to grind or pay 15 million. And that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and I don't like the idea with it that they go, it's completely randomly generated. You go, okay.
Is it?
But is it though? No. Because it's not, is it? You've lied to me there, haven't you, Sean? Because I was looking for a new ship, and I weren't looking for a 48 slotter.
No.
I was looking for something like
25,
24. Like, I was just looking for something that go, right, well, that is more than what I've got, and it actually makes sense for me to go out and repair this ship because it'll be worthwhile. But as I say, you could get to one, and it might be one slot either way, and you go, well,
that's all it ever is. The game will not let you anything bigger, and
the same with multi tools.
Yeah, that seems like
I was expecting more depth with my suit to be able to customize how I look and you just go in there and pay 10 grand each more for every suit upgrade. And you go,
slot.
You just give me an extra slot, and I was like, well, that's a bit easy. It's too easy to get a suit upgrade, and it's too hard to get a slot upgrade for a ship.
Yeah.
And again, I've been playing bits and bobs, and you've been feeding me not spoilers but key information that I need to know. Yeah. And every time you feed something to me, I go, like, it makes me want to play it less, because I just go, I don't want to put the grinding on it. That's not why I got it. I didn't want to get it to grind.
I wanted to explore.
Exactly.
But there's nothing to find.
But really. I expected them to give me the tools to explore relatively easy.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted out of it, was that you go, right, here are all the tools. You can do that easily. You can upgrade easily. There'll be a ship over here. There'll be a suit over there. Like, that's not the part of the game that we want you to grind on.
No.
We want you to explore these planets, and we want to give you the chance to go around these planets, upload them, rename them. Do you know what I mean? And make those planets your own, and then move on to the next galaxy.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for. But actually, they've done it the opposite, where the planets are the bit you don't want to do, but what you end up wanting to do is grind to get the better ship and multi-tool. And I go, well, this is back to front for me.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's
like
not.
The game was meant to be an exploration sandbox.
It's not, is it? It's
not.
It's an inventory management sandbox.
Yeah, and it's really, and that wasn't what I was after from it, and that's not what they sold it as, and that's the bit that I'm annoyed with. So I'm not annoyed about all the other shit. No. I'm just annoyed that you want me to grind, because that wasn't what you was trying to sell me. You weren't selling me a grinder.
No, and then just put it into perspective, like the Atlas path I've done that. That's like the story, if you can call it that. And I certainly wouldn't. But the main goal is to hit the center of the galaxy. Fine, that's a decent enough goal, isn't it? I'll do that. I've now upgraded my ship. Got 3 hyperdrive upgrades. I can jump about 1,500 light years, which is a reasonable amount. But it's not reasonable when you realise I'm 157,000 light years away. That's insane, isn't it?
And that's what I mean.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm warping. I'm flying through space, warping.
Warp simulator.
Warping. Yeah, go to the planet, get some plutonium, build some new warp cells, warp, and I'm still nowhere near. I think I've done 53 warps. I'm still that far away. I think, good Christ. I know when I get there, it's not going to be anything amazing, because I've seen people complain about that. I think, why am I doing this?
See, that's the trouble for me there as well, and that's what I mean when I said you're feeding me information. It's not spoilers. No. I think you're actually doing me a favour, because look, I've warped 4 times.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've probably got about another 140.
Yeah.
If not more. I'm never going to do that. Like, why 140 times?
That's absurd.
Like, how long was Uncharted for?
About 15 hours, I'd say.
Right. And you come out of that, and I come out of it, and we went, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Brilliant game.
Yeah.
How much time have you put into this No Man's Sky?
25, maybe 30.
Right. Say you've topped out 30.
Yeah.
You would probably need to do probably upwards of 100 hours. Maybe even way more than that.
Yeah. It's looking that way. I mean, the fact I've got a tactic to warp quicker than I would typically do. There's certain things I do. I'm very, very specific about what I do. I'll go on there and just do the bare minimum to get the warp cells. I don't spend time messing around anymore. So hopefully it won't take too much longer, but it's
a shame. That's what I'd class that as. It is though, isn't it? That what they should do is make that achievable in a reasonable time frame, and then you're free to go and do what you want on it.
Yeah. When it came, it got leaked, didn't it? Or it didn't get leaked. People got hold of it early. I think some guy posted it and said, "Yeah, I've done it in 30 hours." And people were going, "Oh, is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Warping?" I tell you what, you don't want to do that for more than 4 hours, but you have to if you want to get to the centre of the galaxy. I can't believe, people didn't know. I guess they probably thought there's all exciting twists and turns along the way. There isn't. Nothing seems. I'm still miles away, but nothing appears to be changing in any significant way. And I just think, I want to do it, just say that I've done it, and then give it a fair shake, because you never know. Maybe something does happen towards the end. Maybe it gets a little more interesting. It throws a curveball. Pretty sure it doesn't, but I couldn't rightfully sit there and put a review up on the channel without at least doing it myself. Then going, right, if you want to do this, you've got to be prepared to go through that. So it's a tough one. The trouble is, I still sit there and do it, and I've got other games to play, but I'm not actively hating my time on it. It's just not very interesting, really, when you break it down.
Yeah,
I think what you do, and you go, well, that's actually not, my time well spent. But
I mean, I'm off 2 weeks of work, and I really wanted to spend some time on it, but I'm really struggling to get that motivation.
That was done and get rid of it.
I think for me, and I think as I said earlier, I don't think I'm ever going to get that motivation to want to sit there and grind it out to get to the center of the earth. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's like standing at the bottom of a mountain.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I could climb that, but there's a coffee shop here that I could sit in and just read the newspaper. Yeah. What is up there to make me want to go up there other than just to say I've climbed that mountain? Yeah. And I think that's the trouble, is that there's nothing that they're all in a game. There needs to be a target of some description, especially if you're going to try and keep people in there for hours on end.
I tell you what, I agree, but I would say you can get away with not having a target, but there's got to be interesting things to do.
Yeah,
and there isn't. And what I did is I got to a point where I was like, right, I've got a decent ship, I've got a multi-tool, suit's fine. Now I will just explore. That was my second week almost. I thought I'll go and I'll do that now, and I'll really soak the game up. I stuck it on Wednesday, and I thought, I don't even know what to do. Like, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to go to this outpost. There's going to be a little alien there sitting in his chair, and he'll go when I come in. He'll have a little puzzle. He'll talk to me, and I have to try and figure something out. I'll go to the next one, and it'll be the same. I thought, no, the game has not got that hook there. It hasn't got enough for you to sit there and do that. And I thought, okay, let's look at this Atlas path, and that then become my drive for the day. I did enjoy doing that and working towards that, and I was enjoying going to the centre of the earth. But then when I've done the maths and worked out the amount of warps, I was like, Jesus, come on.
That's the trouble. Why there's no need for them to make that 150 odd warps.
Yeah, and bearing in mind, it's more than that for most people, because I've probably
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I've walked further than the average person already, and I'm still nowhere near.
Yeah, so I think that's a problem. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for. Look, games these days are often too easy, I think.
This is easy though, Logan. But it's
just time sync. Yeah. It's just one of them things where you go put the time in, you get the results. It's just why are you asking people to put all that time into it? Oh, look at the average play on our game. It's 80 hours.
Yeah,
well, yeah, because you're making me do this fucking rinse and repeat all the old time. That's why, Sean. Not because it's that interesting.
I thought, this is the thing. When I first loaded the game up, and you go to that galactic map, and it said route to the core, I was like, oh, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's about 12 warps, it looked like. Yeah. I was like, that's going to take me ages. And then I'm going to be at the centre of the universe. No, that's just like... That string it shows you is just as far as your warp drive will let you, or the safe, amount of length will let you. That's not the end of it. I thought that was going to be the end of it. Like when I got to that planet that was sitting at the end, that was it. So I'll do 12. No, it's hundreds and hundreds of warps. And even if you use there's like black holes and stuff that you can use, and you can do that, and it takes you a little bit further, but then it breaks something in your ship. So you think, was that worth getting an extra couple of hundred light years, and now my hyperdrive's fucked? So I don't know. You know what? It's a tough one. It's one of those. I've never had such a good experience to start with, and then for it to drop off.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we sat there and moaned about it for 20 minutes, but I probably will still play it, and it's not because I don't dislike it.
Just still. Out of a sheer determination to complete.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, I think you're right.
That is all that is, and
I still have just a hard time saying it's a shit game though, because it's not shit.
No,
it's a very specific type of mentality it has to tap into, and if it doesn't tap into that mentality of yours, you don't have that some people don't. Like Hall would love this game, I think.
I don't think he would.
I think he would grind that. He loves doing pointless stuff.
Yeah, but there's pointless. There's all I don't know. I don't know if Hall would. He's a real funny one. I think he'd lose interest. Well, if they gave you an achievement for doing a lot of it, then he'd be on it. He'd go, right, well, that's easy money. But I think for him, I mean, even when we did Minecraft together, he would go off and mine hundreds of blocks.
Right.
And I couldn't bear it. I'd go, that's too much to me. And he goes, no, I like doing the mindless, boring stuff. And I'm just like, right, okay. Yeah. But there's a point at the end of that. And it's actually... You go, well, that's if I sit there and hold this button for half hour, then I can do whatever I want at the end of it. But I think there's so much to do that is the same, I think even for him, he'd go, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't doing that. And even Destiny, he absolutely loved grinding the shit out of that. But that was so enjoyable to do the middle bit. The grinding was enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas I'm really struggling to sit there and hold a multi-tool up to a fucking bit of rock, get that, create a thing, go off, warp, hold it. Like, there's no...
I don't even mind that bit too much, really. It's more just the fact that that part collecting. It's more the fact of I don't know where the resource is. That's annoying. Like going on a planet and you think, well, is that there? And it isn't. You think, oh, it's just that's.
I said to you yesterday, you need to be able to scan a planet from above and to be able to get an idea of what resources are on it. That for me is a glaring omission. If you want me to grind, then before I go down, at least let me know. I mean, look, there are some real bugbears about this game. There's some real gaping holes where you go, at least make it a bit easy for me. Like, the thing that annoys me is this pulse engine.
Yeah.
Like, why are you making me? Like, why give me such an easy resource to mine?
Yeah.
Like, why make all the resource I need to be able to power that all around me? Yeah. Just don't make me do it at all.
Yeah, if it's that easy, it's pointless to have it all sitting there.
Like, at least give me that bit of a bone to go, right, well, at least I can travel freely. Like, I don't know. There's some really good parts about it, but there's some really things on it that really annoy me that I go, why are you making me do that?
Yeah.
Like, throw me a bone here.
The thing is, all this stuff that we're talking about wouldn't be a problem if the whole exploration piece was enjoyable. The fact that it isn't then compounds it. You think, well, and there's all this about it. Like it's
like that's the one thing. As again, we're in danger of repeating, but that's the one thing I wanted it for, to explore, and it's actually one of the worst parts.
Yeah, that's the telling tale there.
Yeah.
Well, look, that is poor old No Man's Sky.
We've shat on 2 games there, but I'll still play them both at some point. So
yeah,
I
think I don't know what to say about No Man. That was just a vent. I needed to get that out of my system, I think. Yeah. I still don't regret buying it. It's what a weird situation to be in. If you look at it objectively, I think what am I doing? Not a lot. But that's it. Well, we'll call this part of it to a close, and we'll be back after the interlude to talk about Battlefield 1 Beta. So, Battlefield 1, Logan.
Yeah.
Beta out. Beta live. Anyone that's listening, if you've not downloaded it, just go and download it and play it, because you might as well. It'll give you a real good insight into the game, first of all. And typically they tend to last for a while. They've not got a close down date. So if you haven't got it, you might
there is a close down date.
Oh, is there? What is it?
7th of September.
Well, days away then. So get in there now if you've not listened to it. I've played a few games. Not that many, probably about 6 or 7 maybe. But you've spent quite a bit of time with Battlefield 1 since its release last Wednesday.
Yeah.
High level, what's going on?
It's still very Battlefield. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Yes, I don't really know where to start with it.
Let's run through some bits then. If you're struggling,
I'm a bit overwhelmed by it, so I don't want to start gushing.
Yeah, so let's cut it down. So it's Battlefield 1. You've got a World War 1 setting, 2 maps, 2 game modes. You've got Conquest, which is I guess bread and butter, really, isn't it, for Battlefields? The 64.
Yeah, they'll know that.
64 player, capture the flag, not capture the flag, capture the points, hold the points. That sort of bollocks going on. And Rush, which is another objective-based mode where you have to, if you're an attacking team, detonate 2 points. So armor bomb, wait for the timer to expire, bang, it blows up, and then you get 2 more points. I think you've got to do 10 points in total if you're attacking. And if you're defending, you've got to try and defend for the set time limit. And I think it refreshes every time you get 2 completed objectives. So both quite large scale, aren't they? They're not like, I mean, what's Conquest 64 player? And I think is it 24 for Rush. Anything of note there that you've played? I mean, they're the only 2 modes you've got, but there will be other modes when it comes out. But out of those 2, is there anything to know? I mean, Conquest everyone knows about. Maybe Rush is a good place to start on and see what you think of that.
Yeah, Rush is a bit sort of, they've got a few less vehicles. It's smaller maps, so
no planes and shit, is there? It's all ground. It's like slower tanks.
Not that I really see that as a disadvantage. I mean, I suppose the point is I mean, I don't know. I don't really understand the point of airborne combat anyway in this at the minute, but that's by the by. So they've taken out aeroplanes, and presumably to stop you bombing points and stuff.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
But yeah, so you get two A and B to attack. You have to get up there, arm the points, and then once you defeat them, you move on to the next two. So you do 2 points 5 times.
That's it.
It's sort of it's the nap's more narrow. So you need to. You got less of a place where to go. Once you've defeated those 2 objectives, then it sort of stops you for a bit, lets the other team regroup. I mean, it tells you there's a barrage incoming, but basically it stops you going any further up.
Well, it's nonsense, that barrage, isn't it? Because there's actually no barrage happening. I've watched. I can't see any artillery fire. Just that on the map, it kind of greys off. If you walk over it, it goes return to combat. And you're like, well,
I would have liked some.
At least pull the wool over our eyes. Yeah, at least try and make it seem like it's happening. Maybe it's a beat. They've just not bothered to put it in.
Yeah, maybe that's wishful thinking though. But I think that'd be better with barrage. But yeah, it's just it's not much different from Conquest, but you've just got to capture the points rather than hold them. I mean, we did one, didn't we, where we got into a tank and just basically used that from start to finish. And they just couldn't deal with it.
No.
They're really hard. If you're doing poor in the tanks on the other team, then you're really going to struggle to put them down. So we just got in there, went from A to B, or B to A, and just kept going from point to point. You get out, arm it, and then we just look at it with a tank. Yeah. No one's getting near that.
No, they're getting blown away, weren't they, if they got anywhere near it?
So I don't know. I feel like for that mode, the tanks are a bit OP. But saying that, they've got tank on the other side. But I think it'd be better if you just had light armoured vehicles rather than tanks. So it'd be good if there was just horses and some jeeps and stuff going around, I think.
Yeah, I do tend to agree with that because they can just... Like, we just sat in it. There was another set of lads as well who were in another tank, and between the 2 tanks, they weren't dealing with it. They were getting blown out the water, and it was just one-way traffic. It's difficult enough if you're defending anyway, I think, in those games, let alone
having... to stop the tide, isn't it? Once you start losing them, once you get that momentum or whatever, it's hard to stop them. But that's part of the game. I mean, there were times when we defended. I played a few games of it, and we defended it because they didn't really make much of a go on it. So it swings and roundabouts. But when we did that, I thought, I enjoyed it because, well, I was bossing it with the tank, me and you, weren't we?
Yeah.
And you just go, right. It weren't much of a challenge though. It was just more like a free for all. But it can. Me and Pete played a game on Conquest earlier where we were in a tank basically from start to finish, and I'm just like, if you're not dealing with that, then I will just sit in it. We were just sitting at B with a tank.
Yeah.
And just like they were just running in every time, and I'm like, well, we're just going to get mowed down. So if you want to do that, right, it's up to you. So I don't know. Maybe it's part of the. It's difficult because the other team might just not know how to deal with it or what they're doing. So it's hard to judge. But each team gets the same equipment, really. Yeah. So you go, well, is it just quality then?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just people not utilising things properly, isn't it? That's the thing with Battlefield. You need to learn how to, primarily most of the time you'll be spending your time not in a vehicle, typically. So you need to learn how to defend yourself against them or even go on the offense of them if you've got the tools. In terms, vehicle-wise, you've got planes, you've got jeeps, you've got tanks of sorts. Overall, that's sort of a staple of Battlefield, isn't it? Having vehicles and stuff you can jump in.
Yeah.
I don't expect much more to be there. You could class the horses maybe as a vehicle, I guess. Maybe we should talk about that because that played a big part in their latest trailer. And having had a go myself, they're all right. They're a bit janky at times.
Yeah, I thought they were a bit clunky at times.
They control better than Roach out of The Witcher 3. Those who have played that, honestly, I've just finished playing Shadow of the Colossus actually, and I think the horse's name that's Argus or something like that. It's some weird name, and he's awful. He's worse than Roach. It's the worst one. But that game's 11 years old. So I kind of expect that. It's it's from the PS2 era. When we come to nowadays, Roach on Witcher 3, awful. They weren't shocking in this, but they were just sometimes you get snarled up on a bit of like terrain or something or a wall, and it was just got in a bit of a flap. And they're like Terminators as well. You can't kill the bastards. You can kill the bloke on it quite easily, but the actual horse just very rarely. I've seen him take fucking shells to the head and walk away with it.
Earlier on, there was somebody had rode a horse like quite up high, and I was just like, right, I'll quickly get rid of that, and I batted it over the head and shot it, and it really played with my head because I thought I don't like doing that.
No.
But I was standing there just batting it in the head for ages because I didn't want to waste my ammo. I reckon I batted it 15 to 20 times in the head, and I'd already shot it once.
Did it go down?
It did, yeah. Oh, but it's 15 bats in the head.
That's cruel, isn't it?
Like, I mean, I understand why they have to be a bit more robust. Like the trouble is that game's very realistic.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it kind of is. It is, but it's not, is it? Because you get things like that happening.
I mean, I'd rather sorry, mate. I'd rather them put a bit of armour on it or something.
Yeah, pretend it's deflecting some of the damage.
It's literally got nothing on it. So I've shot it in the head, and it goes, well, you've done 10 damage to a horse. And I'm like, right. But I've done more than that, so what are we doing? I mean, maybe this is some of the balancing that they'll learn from it, and I expect there'll be some balancing going on, but it is difficult because you're trying to encourage people to get on it and take the fight to them, and it basically becomes a melee character at that point, so it's got to have a bit of something about it, but at the same time, I feel like they're a bit OP. Like, you can't, if you see someone on it, you got to go for the person rather than the horse.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough balancing act. If they got mowed down easily, that you just, as soon as you ran near an enemy, they shot its legs and you just got tumbled off. You wouldn't use them, would you? But yeah, they do feel like they're a little bit too steroid ridden. Or maybe they did put steroids in World War One. Maybe they were absolute beasts, but we're not going to know. Let's move on to the gunplay.
Yeah.
Obviously a little bit slower than what we've played in Titanfall. Although I'd argue not much slower. I felt like it's a little bit faster than... I've only ever played Battlefield 4 really properly. Oh no, I did play the first one as well. 1944, was it? It's 42, yeah. I ain't going to bother with correcting that. But 1940, whatever it was. And that was typically a lot slower and whatnot. But this felt a bit faster, I would say. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The trouble with Battlefield... 42.
Oh, right. Well, bloody hell, I'm going all the way back to that.
Yeah.
They were smaller maps, to be fair.
Yeah.
So you got to bear that in mind. But, yeah, they're quite quick. I mean, you can just sprint unlimited, basically.
Or use your bayonet charge.
Well, yeah. I do like that feature, but it does knacker them out very quickly.
You got one with it yet?
Yeah, I've got a couple of people with it, yeah. There's a geezer laying on the floor, and I went up to him and stabbed him in the floor. It is so satisfying.
Is it?
Yeah, unbelievable. Like, more satisfying than spearing someone on Gears of War. Yeah, honestly, it is really satisfying. I really do like that. But, you've got unlimited sprint. It is quite quick, I suppose, but I find that even on the Conquest, I find it outside of the hotspots, it's a little bit less... frantic. Like, once you start getting in them hotspots, you can really get snarled up quite quickly. But it's I think it's always difficult to judge these games because people haven't learned how to play the maps. You've got loads of people doing all sorts of different things, and it becomes really unpredictable. So
that's Conquest in a nutshell, because there's so many people. Like, you've got no hope really of organising that, have you? It's just you concentrate on what you want to do, and you hope that your team are doing the same at the other points and doing a good job. Because then, if they're not, you can't really do much about it because there's too many people to try and
absolutely. Yeah,
command.
You can't. I mean, generally, I must admit, people have been quite good on there. I haven't got absolutely drilled. Like, generally, if we've lost a load of points, people go, right, we need these. So like, people do that, but it is better when there's a couple of you on there. That is definitely better when there's a couple of you on there. You go, right, I'm in a tank, get in here, we'll go around and storm it. You have one on the left, one on the right, one person driving and facing forwards, and that is the way to do it. Like, definitely, that is the way to do it. But I think even when I've played it on my own, I just go Lone Ranger, really, and just find myself a little spot and start having some sniper battles. And that's what I quite like about it as well, in comparison to some of the FPSs, is that you can just...
You can get a moment yourself, can't you?
Yeah, you can play it how you want to play it, because it's so big. Out of 32 members, if one of you just goes, just going to sit here and pick people off. That's actually quite useful because it stops people getting to the points. So even though you're not playing the objective, you're still contributing. So yeah, it is. I've always liked Conquest, but one of the things that I feel like they've done better in this one as well is it's only a 20-minute game, and it's whoever's got the most points wins. Yeah, it's not first to 250 or first to 400 or whatever. It goes, right, you got 20 minutes, whoever gets the most points over that time, done. And it's just the right balance for me, time-wise. So I feel like that's an improvement. But...
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have you dabbled much with the classes and whatnot that you can do? I mean, are they flexible or are they quite rigid? Can you kind of mix and match bits from other classes to make a mini hybrid? What's going on there? I know you'll be able to unlock your own custom class, but the ones that are there, do you have any power to influence your loadout? To start with. Yeah,
you do. But for example, if you're only to fill out your grenades and bits and bobs like that, so you can, if you're a medic, you can quick anti-tank grenades and you can mix it up like that. But a medic can only revive people.
Right.
An assault support class can only provide ammo. Do you see what I mean? So you do have a bit of flexibility with it, but I've tested them all out. Right. Medics are basically redundant. I mean, no
one wants to be revived half the time.
And
they've got a fucking truck sitting on their head, so they've got no hope.
So most of the time, medics redundant. Support again. Who really lives long enough to need more ammo? I mean, at times I did, and I thought, bloody hell, I need to go out and find a gun. But generally, if I'm low on ammo, I'll do some sort of kamikaze maneuver or something. Like I won't be that fussed to sit back and wait for some ammo. So. In my opinion, it basically boils down to assault and scout.
Yeah.
For me, in my personal two classes that I've used the most. I mean, I'm either sitting back and defending or I'm assaulting. So I'm not really doing anything in the middle.
No, I mean, I'll tell you what. If you had 4 people on, you all had a class each, and you stuck together like an actual squad, you could probably have some really interesting moments doing that. But the trouble is, no one does that typically. No one's really. Even when we were together, just us two, there were times when I'd look and I think I'm nowhere near Logan here. I've just gone off and started doing my own thing, and it is
hard to keep track of each other at sometimes because you'll be like, shit, I'm getting shot at.
Yeah.
And you sort of go into sort of survival mode and go, right, I need to get in the building or something, and then you go, right, I'm here, what am I doing? You go, shit, Logan's over there, or
can't get to him.
But it's good for some things. Like I could see a sniper and go, shit, there's a sniper over there, and go like, apps, Pete, can you get him down? Otherwise he's going to pick us off on a point or whatever. It's like stuff like that is quite handy to have, but again, like you heal anyway over time, so a medic becomes a bit redundant. And on Battlefield 4, I think one of the classes you had a repair tool.
Yeah.
So that you'd be that because it'd be handy to have him because he could get out, repair the vehicle quick, and get back in.
Now you can repair it on the fly, can't you? If you're the driver.
Now, yes, you can repair it on the fly, but you can't do anything else while you're repairing.
No.
And if you do get damaged while you're repairing, it interrupts it, so it doesn't do it. So it's kind of well balanced. I do quite like that. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like maybe it makes the vehicles a bit overpowered. But maybe that's what they're going for. It was very much like that in World War One anyway.
Well, it segregates them from the other shooters out, doesn't it? Having a more vehicle-based combat. And, you spend most of your time on foot and you will back up kills. But it's just that point when a fucking tank rolls over a wall in front of you, you have to just run. You just shit your pants and go. That's what I like. That's the one thing I would say that's positive about Battlefield 1. It does capture that panic and that skittish behaviour of what it feels like to be under the cosh, basically. You can obviously lay down fully prone. You're trying to get away, and you can hide quite well in this, even away from snippers. They seem to be pretty poor, but there's a few things that got my goat, and one was the speed between rounds and games. It's just
that needs to be shortened.
Beta, fine, might not ignore that. The menu design they've got for the UI for the front screen, awful, slow, nearly slower than Hitman, which is one of the worst menu systems I've ever come across.
I don't know what they've done with that menu.
It's that look, it's live, look what's happening, look what your friends do. It's just like, no, give me a button to press to go to bloody lobby and I'll go in it. I don't need a picture of someone's face smiling going, oh, look, it's Happy Medal Day or whatever they've decided to put on there. Piss off. Stop. That's there to stay. That's not going anywhere.
It was a bit better. I think they might have updated it. It's a little bit better, but it's still very sluggish. Like, I'll do anything not to go into the menus at the moment.
Yeah,
it's that poor. So I really do hope they address that.
Yeah, and clamber. It's got like I call it a clamber mechanic nowadays, where you can put your hand on something and grab up onto a ledge. Feels a little bit of a nightmare sometimes because the terrain's not squared off because it's like round rocked. You can spend 5 attempts trying to get up the tiniest and over the tiniest sort of hurdle. And that's the last thing you need when you've just sprinted away because some flamethrowers come roaring around the corner and you're trying to get up higher.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Over walls and stuff, it's fine, but if you're on uneven terrain, it struggles with it, which is annoying.
Yeah. Having said all that, I mean, there are a few problems. I did enjoy the game, and I will play it more this week, I'd imagine. But it's not really. I don't know. The trailers obviously made it look like incredible. And none of those moments seem to materialise in the game when I'm playing it. But I think it's just that it's coming to me that I'm not, and I use the word grounded very loosely here, but I don't seem to be as attracted to grounded FPS first-person shooters anymore.
Yeah.
Which is odd because I even though we just spent half an hour not really gushing over Titanfall, saying well we're unsure. I think if I had to level it off, I had more fun playing that. Because it's offering something a little bit out there, I guess. And if I look back at the other shooters I've played this year, Doom is one that's nowhere near etched in realism whatsoever. That's just a complete gore fest. And then you go back to, you could maybe class Overwatch, that's kind of an FPS class-based thing. That's, again, all crazy, weird stuff going on. But just having just a rifle and a gun is not appealing to me. That's a completely personal opinion. And I understand that lots of people like that. That's how they want their games. And that's one reason why Battlefield 1 is trending better than Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, because Infinite Warfare's gone the other way and people aren't happy with it. I'm starting to think, though, having played it, that the only thing that can save it, not save it, but the only thing that's going to interest me to buy it is if I get wind that this campaign, which I assume is there, is really good. But other than that, it might get put on the back burner. Where are you sitting at the moment, having played it for numerous hours and being, you said to me before we went off air in the last segment, I might have Destiny syndrome with this, but if it's not any good, just lay it out in front of me and I'll have to deal with it. So you was obviously hyped up for it, almost Piper in No Man's... Well, not that bad. It's Piper in No Man's Sky. Where are you sitting in terms of your expectations and the sniffometer, as we call it?
Look, it's not the game changer necessarily that I thought it would be.
It's not the trailers, unfortunately. It never is. But
never is, and that's okay. Yeah. It still feels very Battlefield-like, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, you said
that.
But
as I say, I don't really know what I mean by that. I just...
So hang on, how much of Battlefield 4 did you say you play?
I played not loads, but I played a fair bit with Hall. I've played a fair bit, but I think we struggled to get into that because we liked Conquest, but we didn't like the length of the games.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was good fun. We enjoyed that for a while.
Battlefront? Not the same, but the same devs.
It feels a bit... It feels better than Battlefront.
Right.
It does feel better. It's hard to quantify that, but just it feels smoother, and I like the way the guns work better, and look, for me, I've been saying for ages, give me a World War I shooter.
Yeah.
Give me that. That is what I want. I want a gun and I want a grenade, and leave me be with that. I don't want to double jump and hold onto a roof and bend over and warp towards them, and I don't want to do that. I like a good old fashioned gun. As you said, where the stuff that you've been playing in a first-person shooter, you get a bit more variety from that. But what I've been after for ages is this, almost. I'd have liked to have played just a team deathmatch on there. I think that just to see what that's offering, rather than... I mean, look, let's not beat about the bush. Battlefield is all about the all-round combat. It's not about team deathmatch. But sometimes you just go... I just want a quick game, a few games of shooting. I don't want to play...
Give me that.
Objective-based games. So
sure.
I'd have liked to give that a go, just to see if I enjoy it as much and if that was something that I'd be interested in doing. But, I mean, on the whole, I want to pick this game up. Right. I felt like Titanfall at times was a bit of a chore.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that fussed about playing it. Whereas this, I was playing it while I was off. I was thinking I want to get on there. I want to do some of these long range sniper shots, and because they're so satisfying. And
right, yeah.
I got my old buzz back for shooting games and playing them on my own.
Right. Has that been missing? Has that been absent for a little while?
I think so, and I think what I used to like about Call of Duty was the freedom to choose how you wanted to play.
Mm.
If I wanted to set up with a sniper and find a spot, and if I wanted to, like, you had that freedom of choice. And I feel like with the recent ones, they've taken that away and they've just encouraged constant frantic battle.
Everyone's up your arse, aren't they? Constantly.
Yeah. And on this one, I can go somewhere and know I can generally take a breather, or I can go here, or I can choose how I want to play that game, and I can make it my own.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I am really enjoying it personally. Yeah. But maybe that's because of my personal preference for want of a World War One or World War Two shooter.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Here's the last question then.
Mm-hmm.
Rank these in order of preference and want.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare with Modern Warfare bundled in. Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
Titanfall 2.
Right. Now, this isn't even a slight on any of the games, because I reckon I could quite happily play, I'll say any of them, but bin Infinite Warfare. Forget about that. I could quite happily play, if someone texted me and said Battlefield, Modern Warfare, or Titanfall, I would jump on them in an instant.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't want to play the bottom ranked one.
Right, fine.
So at the moment, this is how it ranks. So number 3 would be Infinite Warfare bundle.
Yeah.
Solely because I have played Modern Warfare before. Obviously, I've played it a lot.
Yeah.
But I am really interested in what they've done with it.
Yep.
Number 2, Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
Because I think that was good, but didn't quite hit what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously number 1 is Battlefield 1 for me at the moment, because I've really enjoyed their beta, despite some of the obvious minor faults, I'd say.
Yeah, well, there you go. That is the order for Logan. We'll see how that pans out in October, I guess, in November, when they all come crashing down on us. Before we close this down, few really quick bits of news. First off, this week coming up, so September the 7th, is the PlayStation meeting, where we are expecting to see the PlayStation Slim, which you can already buy from CEX, even though Sony haven't released it officially. And we're expecting to see what this Neo is all about. So we will have not a full episode, we'll be talking about that next week. Let's just put it that way. We'll be dissecting what has been said, what's going on, and our interests in that. The 3rd season of Telltale's The Walking Dead Adventure series is coming out. It's been announced. We knew it was happening. But it's got a release window, which will be November. And it's going to be called The Walking Dead, a Telltale series, A New Frontier. Purr. Is that, well, not poor game, poor naming is what I'll say to that. Too many A's. Bothered me, that has.
I don't know why they've
done that, because last season was season 2, and they got more popular. You know, as time of the Minecraft and whatnot, they're picking up fans from everywhere, it seems. Batman, talk about that in a second. And what they've done, they've gone, if we call that season 3, people who haven't played season 1 and 2 will go, well, I ain't bothering with that, because I don't want to miss out. I've missed half the story, basically. By calling it A New Frontier, they kind of skirt around that issue.
Because they go, whatever's happened before is probably not relevant.
Well, you're using one of the characters. Clementine's going to be in it, so you will be, she will be in it. But they're just dressing it up as though you don't really have to. I mean, it's for old fans and for new starters. And you think, what are you doing there? Come on, don't mess that up. Whatever you do. They've also announced episode 2 from their Batman series is going to release 20th of September. Still haven't picked that up. Still put off by the price when I saw it at 25 quid. I was like, hang on, that's gone up, and it had.
Yeah, it definitely. I'm waiting until that goes down to about £15 for the lot.
Exactly. I think most people do have most of the series. I will probably pick up A New Frontier, going back to The Walking Dead straight away, because that's my favourite of the lot. But Batman can wait for sure. Lindsay Lohan's Grand Theft Auto lawsuit rules in Rockstar's favour, so her attempt to sue them for a likeness and whatnot in one of the characters in the game has been chucked out by. Yeah, it's 2 years wasted on that. What a waste of time. pathetic. Anyway, and our final thing to end on before we do the current week's or the next week's game releases. Delay news! GT Sport, indefinite delay. November the 15th, binned. We don't know when GT Sport is going to be released. I'm not too surprised. It didn't look in good shape when they revealed it, and I thought, well, you're struggling there, I can tell. So those that are waiting for that are going to have to wait a little bit longer. No date given, but we can only assume next year at some point. Just think anything published or anything that Sony have their hands on, whether it's distribution or publishing, just gets delayed. Just think of it that way. So whenever you get no, serious. Whenever you get the first release date, give it another 6 months, give it another 9 months.
Poor, isn't it, really?
I don't know what. Well, the trouble is, most of the time it's good, although not all the time. So that's a poor comment. Cut that bit. Not a lot going on actually next week in terms of game releases. It's sort of dried up a little bit again. I don't know what that's all about, but we are into September, so maybe that's the deal of it. I'm just double checking now to make sure I've got, because it doesn't seem enough, so I'm just double checking to make sure live.
Doesn't seem enough.
Well, apparently it doesn't start kicking off till Thursday. No, that's correct. Fair enough. Metro Game Central this is, so have a go at them if this is wrong. Thursday the 8th, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice, Nintendo 3DS. Friday the 9th, what is this? Should practice these. Touhou Gensu, Rondo, Bullet Ballot, PS4. Why does it call it Bullet Ballot? Just Sing, Xbox One and PS4. The Elder Scrolls Online Gold Edition. So that's all the bollocks and spells and whistles.
That's what we were waiting for.
Well, no, we've got the base version, and I think that includes a whole lot of DLC and coins and stuff. But it won't be the £12 we paid for it. So, what I tend to do with games like that, I don't mind paying the £12. If it's a failure and we don't play it, it's £12 off. If we go out and get the gold edition for 40 quid and don't play it, yeah, and you go, that was a real waste. Final piece, Assault Suit Lanos, PS4. Trash. Back to trash, haven't we, with releases, apart from the Elder Scrolls, maybe.
Nobody gives a shit, do they?
Well, maybe we just haven't do a research properly. But let's close this podcast down. It has been a little bit long, mainly because of the No Man's Sky rant. But that will be the last you hear of No Man's Sky for at least a couple of weeks. That is a fact.
It's a shame, really.
That is the way we could have summed it up. Instead of doing 20 minutes, it could have just been it's a shame. And then that would have solved and saved people.
You need to get it off your chest, though.
Yeah, I did need to vent, and I'm happy I did. And obviously, I've played some more since we even recorded that bit, so nothing's changed too much. But we'll close this one down. I'm definitely going to get Mr. Piper back on, maybe on a post-podcast segment to go through spoilers on it and whatnot.
Absolutely have to.
And really give it a grilling. But I'll let that settle for at least a few weeks, and we'll see what happens there. If you want to get in contact with, or if you want to see what we're up to actually in the week, whilst we're not recording or you're not listening to the podcast, head over to dimpdigital.com. It's got our audio, our video, and all our written content there. That's it for now, though. Game over. It's goodbye from Logan.
Bye-bye.
It's goodbye from me, Apps. Thanks for your time, and ta-da.